The purpose of this video is to provide an overview of the course design project, project schedule, design reports, and group dynamics, so each student taking the course clearly understands the expectations placed upon them for their performance. Looking at the syllabus, we can see the design project is worth 60% of your course grade. The design project for this course uses the 10-step design process introduced formerly in the CAD course. As you can see, the design project is broken up into 4 unique assignments or design reports. For the first design report, each student is responsible for thoroughly reading the project description, performing background research on a provided list of about a dozen topics, and submitting a proper assortment of hand-drawn sketches which clearly illustrate their solution to the design problem. Each student receives an individual grade for their DR1 submission. The second design report focuses on concept selection. For this assignment, each team will closely review and compare the conceptual design drawings created by each of its team members for DR1. The goal for this phase of the project is to unbiasedly evaluate and select the best ideas among all of those submitted by the team members. At this point, it's common for a hybrid design, that is, a design that combines several aspects of the various concepts showcased by each member in DR1, to arise as the final design the team concludes is their best based on solid justification data presented in their evaluation matrices. Each team member should be on board to support the final design the team concludes is their best. Unlike the first design report, all contributing members receive the same grade for design reports 2, 3, and 4. At this point, it should be apparent that any team member who does a poor job on the first design report will have little to contribute to the team's second design report and will consequently be dropped from the course. The formal requirement is clearly stated in the design report template, so make sure you review it when deciding if this is the correct semester for you to take the course. For the third design report, each team takes the concept they concluded is best in DR2 and works through all of the detailed design and analysis necessary to transform the concept into a finalized design that can be manufactured in the laboratory. The fourth and final design report summarizes the prototyping process and performance. Now that I've explained how the course design reports cover the design process, I would like to offer some tips for each phase of the project. The first tip is to read the project description thoroughly and highlight any constraint or dimension which affects your approach to the design solution. Every semester, students submit ideas which do not fulfill all of the requirements listed in the problem statement. This is also the time to thoroughly read the design report template sections pertaining to the first design report. The second tip is to take the background research assignment seriously, as it's the only chance you have to become knowledgeable about these topics so you can make good design decisions on the project. The third tip is to use all available resources for ideas. This includes the course website photo galleries, online videos, former students, TAs, and the course instructor. All of these resources can provide valuable ideas, and the opportunity to discuss them with others who have worked on similar projects will prove very useful in this phase of the project. As you come up with different ideas, they must be tested to evaluate their potential effectiveness. You can do this during the provided weekly office hours or anywhere else. However, be sure to document the testing with photos and clear notes regarding what was tested and the results of the testing. The fourth tip is to respect the project schedule and weekly deliverables. If you speak to any of your friends who have taken the class previously, they will reinforce how important this tip is. Due to the rigorous workload in the first half of the course, procrastinating or failing to keep up with the course assignments will quickly result in a snowball effect where you will not have a chance to catch up, and your group will incur the consequences in the latter half of the semester. Students and groups who work diligently to complete the weekly assignments on schedule will have the opportunity to participate in a very helpful design review during the 7th week of the semester, after which they can implement that feedback and have a solid manufacturing and testing plan for the second half of the course. The fifth tip is to not underestimate the amount of time needed to complete the required work for the first design report. Since these sketches are hand-drawn, they take a considerable amount of time to create in a manner that clearly communicates the ideas contained therein. When working on these sketches, it's important to draw real parts, true scale, which you are confident are available for use on the project and fit the project budget. In other words, don't make up parts with arbitrary dimensions because you didn't take the time to find real parts and obtain their dimensions. In this class, we are trying to teach the skills necessary to become an effective designer, not a cartoonist. Another example could be the implementation of a movable gripper on your design project. If after conducting the background research, you conclude that a movable gripper would be the best solution for the semester's design project, don't just draw an arbitrary gripper on your design, but rather research and find one that either fits your project budget or that you can manufacture in the lab. TAs and the course instructor are always available to answer questions regarding what can and cannot be easily manufactured, as well as any questions regarding topics which have not yet been covered in the course, such as which specific motors would be appropriate for different functions on your design. The next tip in this section is to show significant detail of each mechanism in your sketches. Use multiple sketch views and multiple pages, as well as color, leaders, and other drawing elements to clearly communicate your ideas to your team. Finally, when working on your conceptual design, if you don't know how to accomplish a desired action for your project, perform more research until you do. Concept generation isn't about partial credit, but rather submitting a complete design that you sincerely feel is capable of accomplishing this semester's design project. This is the end of the material for the first design report. The next section will present tips for DR2. The first tip is to read the Tips on Working in Groups document and follow each suggestion therein. Most engineering students are extremely busy with their workload, so never accept excuses from teammates or underperformance will become habitual. To prevent this from occurring, the group meeting templates are mandatory for each member in your team to complete for every planned team meeting. Trust me when I promise you that many students will underperform if you don't use this effective tool to combat that behavior. The completed group meeting templates will be submitted with the design reports. The second tip is to meet daily to complete the concept selection as a team, not individually. Do not try to perform the work individually, as the results will not be even close to normalized, and the selected design will likely not be the one with the best chance of succeeding. Tip number 3 is to continue using lab resources to test ideas as a group. Never assume an idea is going to work if you have not tested it or a simplified yet still meaningful example of it. In theory, most ideas seem good, but in reality, many have issues we could not have foreseen prior to testing. Number 4 is to work together as a team to understand the mobile platform decision matrix example, adapt it to select your group's best mobile platform among your different concepts, and only then move on to create the decision matrices for the remaining subsystems. The fifth tip for the second design report is to justify every magnitude entered into each decision matrix. If the data is not clearly presented and traceable, showing detailed sample calculations with units, it's invalid. Yes, this is a lot of work to do properly, but it's the difference between an engineer and anyone else. Tip number 6 is to use the provided templates and formatting for every aspect of the project. The design report template and associated documents are very detailed because we take grading very seriously and we spend approximately 2 hours per report or over 80 hours total grading DR2 alone. So please make your lives and ours easier by using all the provided templates. This is a project requirement, not a request. Tip number 7 is to incorporate new ideas as they arise and select the winning concept for each subsystem. Understand that at this point it's common to incorporate new ideas into your evaluation matrices, so do not fear doing so. In addition, make sure your team selects the winning concept for each subsystem and subsequently combines those ideas into the final design. The eighth and final tip for the second design report is to not submit work that hasn't been proofed by another team member who actually cares whether the assignment instructions are followed. Please don't waste our time if you can't spend yours ensuring you've done the best job you can. This applies for general report proofing as well. This is the end of the material for the second design report. The next section will present tips for DR3. The first tip is to follow the suggestions in the SOLIDWORKS and the group work documents provided on the course website. The suggestions found in the two documents can save your groups hours of frustration and aggravating rework. The second tip is to use the Design for Manufacturing and Part Drawing guidelines to improve the quality of your designs and drawings, which results in increased testing time and therefore improved project performance. The third tip is to understand the lab sheet metal and welding capabilities because they are useful resources for most designs. Watch the demonstration videos or ask for demos during office hours to gain a better understanding of designing parts from sheet metal which are easily manufactured. Tip number 4 is a reminder to use all provided templates and formatting for every aspect of the project. We spend over 100 hours grading the third design report, so make your lives and ours easier by using all provided templates. The fifth and final tip is to understand that the better your team does on the third design report, the more useful feedback your TA can provide during the 2-period design review that takes place the week before project prototyping commences, and consequently, the better your team's project performance. This is the end of the material for the third design report.